Well, first of all, I want to officially welcome you on behalf of El Paso County, our commissioners and our commissioner-elects. This is truly an honor for us to be able to host you here. And it's almost a sad occasion in the fact that we're losing a lot of institutional knowledge. And I really want to take some time to reflect on that fact that the majority of the board is going to be turning over or has already started that process. If you remember Amy Lathan, she's already gone on to bigger and better things working with our business community, and she is going to be missed. Sally Clark, I don't know if Sally's here. Is Sally here today? But I want you to understand, because of you, we were able to actually have somebody at the National Association of Counties, and she will be missed. So let's congratulate Sally. And I also want to recognize Dennis Heisey. Where's Dennis? Dennis, stand up. Let's give Dennis Dennis has done a lot for this organization. See, I'm moving this because this is so annoying, because they always tend to put these tall podiums here by me. But it's, Dennis, I want to personally thank you for your leadership in this organization and what you've done as far as on the county. So these are three people that are going to be missed. But I also want to introduce you to three new people. First off, who's already been sworn in, Mark Waller, who's replaced Amy Lathan. Another new commissioner. Stan Vanderwerth, please stand up and say hi. He's going to be replacing Sally Clark. And Lojinos Gonzalez, please stand up and recognize him. Those are going to be your three new faces. And I tell you, I really appreciate them. And Peggy Littleton and I are the two holdovers. I don't know, is Peggy here? Well, I'll say hi for her. But it's important for you to understand that we truly appreciate you being here. And I was given the task of giving the welcome, so I only take, an hour and a half. So, because I know how excited you are to start on with the program. But, I wanted to take an opportunity to kind of reflect back of some of the challenges that we've had to deal with as a county. When you think back 8 years, we were making a lot of national headlines, and some of them weren't positive. At the time, we were going through a lot of economic challenges. We were shutting down parks, turning off street lights, trash was building up, they were closing down restrooms. A couple of years ago, we came across back-to-back, fires and floods. And a lot of people, when they were looking at El Paso County, they thought our best days were over. But I'm here to tell you that I am so proud of a lot of the help that you've given us, because when we were going through a lot of those challenges, you reached out to us and we were able to tap into your knowledge and help us get through those difficult times. But also our community had an opportunity to come together. Faith-based organization, nonprofit groups, business leaders, we all came together and rallied. And I'm here to tell you that I'm extremely proud of the fact that El Paso County is back in business and we're ready to keep going. Thank you to your help with that. I do want to highlight a couple things that we're proud of, in the fact that, depending on how you achieved this destination and got here, if you're coming down from the north, we're very proud of the fact that we just finished a project up north, kind of by the monument area, with the Baptist Road and I-25, that interchange. And we were able to work with our business leaders and citizens group, and we created an authority to address a real issue of public safety. We had to create a situation to deal with our railroad overpass. So we came up with a solution that we actually got together, created an authority. And the best thing I want to emphasize with that is that I can honestly state that when we closed that out here this past summer, I actually was able to witness the start and end of a government program. It is actually possible, ladies and gentlemen. I did not think it was possible, but it actually happened. So we want to highlight that. And the closer that you get to this destination, when you think about I-25 and Cimarron, that's another project that we're proud of, that we're working on. Yes, absolutely. Here we have the City of Colorado Springs. We've got the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation working with CDOT again, working on a critical infrastructure project that's really going to help transportation mobility, be able to actually help streamline access to great places like UPass, Teller County, Park County, Summit County. That's going to be a major improvement next year when you're done. Some of the other things I want to emphasize is, we've had some challenges. We worked with our economic development departments, and we were able to use private activity bonds to really put investments into our zoo and the Colorado College. And that was something that I think that we have written down as something that we're very proud of. And in some of our underserved areas, we had areas that we were having difficulties with lighting, as far as street lighting. And this was unique because this is something Commissioner Heise is extremely proud of, in the fact that we were able to use CDBG money and be able to work and put the infrastructure in, and the community were able to actually create a district to then fund those lights. So we're excited about that. So we are moving forward. One of the things that we tried, and we saw it was very successful over the summer, is we put a clerk and recorder office on Fort Carson. And it was busy. It wasn't busy enough for me, but anyway, I'll let that go. But no, it was very busy, and it was a very positive impact. It shows that you can actually put a service that's vital to the military there, and they really relied on that. And I think that that's something that we can take away as something to potentially do in the future. But, we have been now making new headlines in the fact that people are recognizing that this is a great place to live. It's a great place to start a business. I think the most interesting one came from the Huffington Post, in the fact that it said that you might not have ever thought you wanted to live here, but you might want to live here. And since we don't agree a lot from a philosophical standpoint, I'll take that as a compliment from the Huffington Post. But we want you to understand how important it is that we're ready to go. And I've had the privilege of being able to spend a lot of time in your counties and talking to so many people. And I want you to understand, as commissioners, I am so proud of being a commissioner. And there are so many people that have said so many great, wonderful things about each and every one of you. They recognize the fact that you are that safety net. You are the ones that are the closest to government, that you are the ones that actually are there to tailor to those needs. So I want to, on behalf of so many people that I encountered on this trail, to thank you for what you're doing. And in closing, I want to say that, we need to understand that, our country is in a situations where, it's so easy to look at things from a negative standpoint and allow rhetoric to divide us. One of the things I'm so proud of with this organization is we are able to identify issues and work collaboratively on coming up with solutions that are based on issues and not so much party or philosophies. And I want to continue to challenge us to do that, to be better, to be role models, to show that as we work together, we can make a great and wonderful state. So again, on behalf of my colleagues, I want to say thank you very much. Make sure you spend a lot of money. If you get in trouble, call the sheriff, don't call me. But again, it is truly a pleasure, and it's God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
It's my pleasure now to start my introduction for our keynote speaker, Emelia Istrate. I almost pronounced it improperly, but keep in mind that Istrate is the proper pronunciation now. And her subject is going to be doing more with less. That ought to be something we all be interested in. We always have less, and we need to do more with that. It's going to be county priorities and the state of county finances, which we're all right in the middle of budget now, so it's a great time for talking about finances. With the new administration in the White House, new Colorado legislature getting ready to start, a lot of new county commissioners and all of us getting ready to reorganize, it's time to be able to clearly convey the county priorities. Financial circumstances is more important than ever. Emelia is NACO's, National Association of Counties, Director of Research and Outreach, and has helped head up a long-term NACO research project to compile and present individual and collective financial information on a national scale. That's not a small task to try to do that for all the counties in the nation here. So that was a great accomplishment that she's got, and she's going to share that with us today. Through the NACO County Explorer. This is some software that you can have, and she's going to demo that today. It's an interactive tool that her team has developed to allow you to look at your county's fiscal data, revenue limits, mandates, and consider how they compare with counties from around Colorado and around the country of similar size. In her discussion of the state of county finances, Dr. Istrate is going to show some of the functionalities of this County Explorer and how you can use it. You can actually get online right now if you have your tablets or if you have your iPhones or your smartphones by going to explorer.naco.org, or you can watch on the screen. But be sure to use it as you leave throughout your daily time. There's lots of information there that you'll find interesting throughout your career. As Director of Research and Outreach, Dr. Istrate is responsible for developing NACO's research priorities that support NACO's strategic plan and missions. Emelia joined NACO from the Brookings Institution, where she was a senior research associate and associate fellow with the Metropolitan Policy Program. She was previously researcher with the George Mason University, where she worked on a variety of regional economic development projects. Emelia's research has been widely cited by the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, CNN, and other media outlets. Emelia holds a PhD in public policy from George Mason University, a graduate degree in international studies from Johns Hopkins University, and is the Diplomatic Academy of Vienna, Austria. As you can tell, she is very well qualified for doing what she's doing, and I'd like to have you help me give her a welcome. Bring her up here. Let's get over this. Bring it on. And that's not my only fumble I'll have today. Thank you. And I told her I was going to require a hug, not a shake.
Thank you, Commissioner Goodwin, and thank you all for being here today. Before I start, I want to say I didn't know there were pirates in Colorado, but I heard a couple of them during the roll call. So I'll be definitely more interested to talk furthermore after this presentation. So as Commissioner Goodwin mentioned, my name is Emelia Istrate. I'm the Director of Research and Outreach for the National Association of Counties. And I want to start by thanking all of you for being members in the National Association. We are very close, to have Colorado 100% membership state. We are just missing City and County of Denver. I think it's not a surprise probably for many of you. So any kind of help that you can provide us to get to 100% membership in Colorado, we would greatly appreciate it. And I want to take a minute and thank all of you who are members, represent Colorado counties on the NACO board, NACO committees, task forces. Please stand up so your colleagues can see you, and thank you. Please give them a big round of applause. They make sure that Colorado County's interests are represented at the national level once members decide what positions we are going to represent and advocate with the federal government, the Hill, and the administration. I also want to take a minute and acknowledge my colleague, Linda Langston, who is the Director of Strategic Relations. Linda is going to be here. We're going to be at the booth just outside this hallway. Please come today, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear about your issues and how we can help you. It's your money at work. So by now, you probably have noticed the accent, and you are wondering, where is this person from? And I want to put your mind at ease. I don't speak any Russian. I'm not from former Soviet Union. And I do not know Melania Trump personally. Okay? I want to put your mind at ease. I'm from Arkansas. You haven't figured that one out? So, obviously, we are just finishing November, which, general election came and gone. And we are going to have a new administration, new White House, but there has been a lot of change across states, 12 governor races going on, a lot of changes in state legislatures, including Colorado, and even at the local level. Let's see a show of hands. How many of you are newly elected county commissioners? A big, big applause. Thank you. Thank you for your willingness to serve, to do public service in counties. So obviously we're going to see a lot of change, a lot of policy change. But change and chance favors the well-prepared. And we at the National Association of Counties, we've been working on this campaign of Counties Matter. And this is a campaign that showcases what's the role of counties in the daily life of Americans. From roads and bridges to turning on that water faucet to running elections. And part of this campaign, what we have done this year is we conducted a survey of county leaders, your peers. Many of you probably already responded to this survey. And this survey that you get hard copies that you can find at the back of the room, please take a copy on your way out. This talks about what do you care about at this point in time. This takes the pulse of county leaders in 2016. So what I want to talk with you a little bit today is what we found out, what's at the top of priority list for county leaders around the country. And I'll be very interested to hear how much does this reflect your priority list in the counties where you're from. So first and foremost, with no surprise, budget strains continue in 2016. As you can see here, almost half of the respondents told us that they had to cut or reduce a county service or program because of budget constraints. And we are talking about 2016, many years after when the national economy came out of recession. However, we also know that many of your counties, many county economies, have not yet come out of the recession across multiple indicators when we start looking at each and every one of your counties. So some of these budget strains also come from unfunded mandates. And we've seen the issues with federal Clean Water Act implementation, but also Endangered Species Act. Let's not forget that almost virtually every county in the country has at least one listed endangered species. And providing hospital medical care for those who cannot afford to pay, the indigent hospital care. Recall that in more than half of the states require counties to provide indigent health care. But beyond this issue of budget strains and unfunded mandates, for the first time what we are finding is this spreading drug epidemic. And what we found out that county leaders told us is not only the number one top public health priority, but it's also the top public safety priority. And many of you probably have seen stories around the country, and some of them very disturbing if you've seen some of the media coverage from Ohio with a couple that overdosed in their car with an infant in the back of the car. But this is something that we have seen cutting across large and small counties, urban, rural, across all kinds of economic levels. So this is something that we take very seriously at the national level. We want to work with our members to find solution for this drug epidemic. So let's see a show of hands. How many of you are dealing with this issue in your counties? So it seems that you in Colorado are seeing something that we have seen consistently across the country. And I can tell you that earlier this year, actually, we've done, we put together to see how this drug epidemic spread over time. And it's amazing, this is, my daily job, that's what I do. And I haven't seen anything in my entire life that spread so fast across counties. By 2012, almost 40% of counties had drug overdose death rates above the national average. It's amazing how widespread it's around the country. But talking about, the priorities, definitely economic development remains at the top of priorities for counties. Interesting enough, when we ask county leaders, what is the number one challenge for you to support the local economy, affordable housing came up top. And this is a difference from 3 years ago when we put the same question, and workforce development, unemployment, underemployment were coming up top. So how many of you are seeing this issue with affordable housing in your counties? And how many of you are seeing this issue in rural counties, affordable housing? So this is the reality, that affordable housing is not necessarily an urban-rural issue. This is something that we need to educate more people about, the issue that affordable housing cuts across. And especially when we work with the state legislature, with the federal government, to make sure that both rural and urban are covered in this issue. So other issues that county leaders such as yourself mentioned was, of course, the issue of attracting and retaining skilled workers, but also the issue of broadband. Broadband is coming up top much more than it has been in the past, and is becoming an infrastructure impediment to economic development, especially in the smaller counties. And let's see a show of hands, how many of you are seeing this in your counties, this issue of unavailability, the lack of insufficient broadband in your county. So that's quite across, but the interesting thing, what I found out, that actually in Colorado, my understanding that you have a state law in which that you have to pass a referendum to ask to be exempted from the state law to do investment in broadband. Well, this is very specific. I haven't heard much across the country of that type of situation. And now talking about infrastructure, of course, roads and bridges remain at the top of the agenda. Keep in mind that counties own more than 45% of the road mileage in the country, and almost 40% of bridges in the country. And this kind of information helped us to be able to be at the negotiation table with the federal government when there was a renegotiation for the new package for federal surface transportation that just got passed last year, and there is more money for local governments such as counties. And more than 70% of the county elected that we surveyed told us that roads and bridges investment remain a top investment, a top way to support economic development. But interesting enough, the issue about investment in roads and bridges, it's about fix it first. It's about repairing roads, replacing bridges, improving existing travel routes. Another issue that came up top more than we've seen in the past is this issue of poverty and the role of counties in paving pathways out of poverty. Now, let's keep in mind that counties are very much involved in local workforce development boards. And when we ask county leaders who is the most in need, it's families with children living in poverty. And in the United States, almost one in four children live in poverty. And if you want to think about relative, I can tell you that in terms of international rates, this is about the same level as Greece and Hungary. And I'm not from Hungary, if you are thinking about that. and neither Greece. And counties have, when we ask county leaders, okay, what can you do about this? And it's about investment in early childhood development, but also nutrition assistance. And this discussion about early childhood related to economic development, I can tell you, especially in the economic development arena, is something new. But what I want you to think about these early childhood programs, this is like a first stage economic development programs. Because research has shown that where someone grows up affects the income opportunity into adulthood, no matter where that person goes. So these early childhood programs are a first stage economic development investment. And as you can imagine, we did ask about the relation with the federal and state government. And what county leaders told us that more often than not, federal policies impede innovation at county level. And a very close percentage told us the same about state policies. Now, this is very worrisome, and this is about this relationship, the federalist relationship between the federal government, the states, and the local level. And county elected told us that they are very concerned that the negative sentiment of the public towards federal governments has repercussion at the local level, that the residents start having the same kind of negative effect. There is this negative sentiment towards local government. And what I wanted to show you today a bit when we talk about, the federal and state effect on counties is this discussion of doing more with less. And what we have done is looking across state limits on your capacity to raise revenue, but also what are your main sources of funding, and also state mandates on service delivery, other fiscal challenges that you are facing, and what solutions counties are implementing. And we just released this month, this report that you can find just one page, short executive summaries at the back of the table that explains how this pressure, what I call the squeeze. Counties are in a squeeze on one side on the state limits on their capacity to raise revenue, and on the other hand, the state mandated them to deliver services. And this squeeze is continuing, and we have found out that over the last 10 years, this pressure has been growing. And you can find on this website, it's very simple. You just go to naco.org/state limits. And we are going through all this discussion about, not only the state limits on your capacity to raise revenue, but the state mandates. Now, with the national analysis, we also produced individualized profiles for each and every state in the country. So you can pick up at the table at the back of the room a profile specifically for Colorado counties that talks about your sources of funding, your own funding, but also state and federal funding, also state limits on your capacity to raise revenue and state mandates. Interesting enough, what we found out that actually Colorado is one of the most restrictive states when it comes to limiting counties' ability to raise revenue. Well, until you dig into the numbers, you don't know. You may know, but you don't know how you look in comparison across the country. So you not only have a limit on the rate of the property tax, but also the assessment and the levy. And of course, you all have the, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights that, makes things much more difficult when you want to raise revenue, and the Gallagher Amendment. I can tell you that there are only other 7 states around the country that have all those property tax limitations, like in Colorado. It's very, very restrictive. And you can also find in this profile also what are the main federal funding coming to your counties. Often this is a very misunderstood flow of funding, and the reason is that a lot of the federal funding is passed through the state, passed through other entities until it gets to the county. So actually, when we look at the numbers for Colorado counties, more than 80% of the federal funding that Colorado counties use don't come directly to the counties, such as PILT or SRS. Actually goes through the state or other entities. And think about TANF and other, human social services funding. And talking about PILT and SRS, how many of you get PILT dollars? Well, it's not surprising, Colorado counties actually get quite a bit of $37 million in fiscal year 2016 in PILT. And for those of you who are still, wondering, why are we members of NACO? Well, I want to remind you that we are the only one association in Washington, D.C. who works to maintain that PILT payments every year. And believe me, it hasn't been an easy way, because often many people in federal government don't understand what's the purpose of this funding stream. So we continuously do an education campaign, and we're going to have probably to do even more now with a new White House, and especially a new House and a number of new senators, about the importance of the PILT funding. You also get quite a bit in SRS, Secure Rural Schools funding, about $11 million. And you can find this one-page PDF profiles, both for SRS and PILT funding, at the back of the room. We have them printed, and you can use them as a leave behind in your meetings with other parties that have, talk about what is this SRS funding for. Now, this is something that we've been very much working towards, just because these 2 funding streams are so important for many of our members, and especially western counties such as Colorado counties. So talking about, more with less, we are talking not only about state limits on your capacity to raise revenue, and we make it very clear that it's not that counties just want to raise revenue willy-nilly, it's just that the mandated services are increasing. And I can tell you that what we found out, that in almost the majority of counties, mandated services costs are increasing above inflation. So, and especially justice and public safety in many counties around the country. So you see that, when we started looking at mandates, and as I told you, that all this information, you can find it on our website. Sorry, this computer doesn't want to cooperate with me, but I guess so. I bet, Commissioner, that this one is for Brush, is trying to sabotage me. When we are talking about state mandates, we talked, with state association, and we were trying to find out over the past decade if you are seeing more state mandates or, mandates that cost more, if you are seeing less state funding, or you are seeing a combination of both. And I can tell in about 3/4 of states, the state association told us that either they seen more mandates or more burdensome mandates, less funding, or a combination of both. And that's just the part of mandates. One thing that we also looked at is the fiscal challenges on the horizon. And some of this is something that you've been dealing with. Marijuana legalization, revenue from oil and gas production, the sharing economy, Uber, Airbnb, how are they embedded in the county tax structures, if they are, and dark stores. How many of you are familiar with the dark store? This is something that I want everyone to be aware of because it is spreading as wildfire across the country. And it's very important to be aware of what it means and how it can affect you. And we found out that in more than 12 states, counties had to deal with this valuation appeals. A dark store, it's when a big box retailer comes into a valuation appeals and asks for an operating store to be valued, to be used as, for comparables, to be used a vacant big box store. Okay? And you may think that, there is not much argument in there. I can tell you that in a number of states, actually, they have been very successful. And in Michigan, since 2013, counties in Michigan, because they lost this valuation appeals, they had to give money back more than, $70 million. So this is something that we've seen spreading very fast. At the beginning of the year, when we started getting a feel for this and asking, have you seen issues with this kind of dark store valuation appeals in your state? We were getting maybe 8 or 9 states. By the end of the year, there are 12. And these are cases when there is an appeal introduced. And we've seen it from Michigan, Alabama, Indiana, New York. We've seen it across the country. So if you haven't seen it yet, just be careful, because who are introducing this? It's a cottage industry. It's not the actual retailer. There is a cottage industry that goes to the retailer and said, if I manage to get your assessment down, I'm going to get paid. You're going to pay me. And the retailers basically say, fine, go ahead. And what we also have seen, that often they go after the smaller counties because they know the smaller counties will not have as much capacity to defend themselves in these valuation appeals. So if you haven't seen that, just pay attention. This is something that we have seen across the country. And when it comes to solutions, to fiscal challenges, there are a number of things. Definitely service delivery, sharing. We've seen it around the country. And many counties in Colorado, pursue this in order to maintain the quality of service for their residents, but also introducing special districts that would have earmarked funding for a specific type of activity. And then actually about 37 states allow counties to have this type of special districts. Now, an interesting thing that we found out that in Alabama, actually, Alabama state legislature has a law that they have to have supermajority to consider any kind of mandate in order to prevent unfunded mandates. So there is, of course, always in play this relationship between the counties and the state. But let's not forget that a number of these mandates also come from the federal level. And we've been working tirelessly to make sure that we are, first of all, at the table when they discuss this regulation, and also to make sure to stave off some of this regulation that we made it clear it will affect counties in a negative way. So these are some of the items that I wanted to show you. And you've seen some of the maps on this website. Now keep in mind that all these maps that we have, actually you can go and find information for your own county or your own state. So let's see a show of hands, how many of you have browsed this County Explorer website? Good. I hope after this, many more of you are gonna go on this website, and I always encourage members, tell the staff in your counties, because this is free of charge, anybody can access this website. So if you go, this is very easy to access. If you go on our website, you'll see this yellow bar called County Explorer. You can just click on it. As I said, anybody can access it, our members and others who are interested in counties. And you'll see an overlay box. This box tells you about the latest data or information that we updated that specific month. Now this Big Map Interactive, it's like a one-stop shop of county information and data. We have everything from county roads and bridges, who owns them, how much, off-system bridges, to county finances. And talking about off-system bridges, how many of you have off-system bridges? You own off-system bridges? Well, this is another point that, I want to remind you that we actually are the only association in Washington, D.C. who advocated for maintaining federal funding for off-system bridges. And in 2009, when federal government got rid of the bridge program, we managed to get a clause that would allow federal funding for these bridges that are not on the federal highway system at the level of 2009. Now, guess what? When the federal bill came out again under discussion, there was a battle to make sure that that money stays in. And the battle is there because the majority of these off-system bridges are owned by you. So counties are the main party there interested in these off-system bridges and interested in federal funding to continue for off-system bridges. So, talking about this interactive, if you are not interested in any of this, before you leave, just click on Get the Latest, plug in your email, and you're going to get an email every month when we update some of the data in the interactive. You're not interested in any of that, just go on the left-hand corner under Map and Indicator, click on Map and Indicator. And for those of you who have a computer or a tablet, I encourage you to test the Wi-Fi in this room. So you click on Map and Indicator, and you'll see some of the indicators that they are new, they've just been updated. And when we were talking about state limits and mandates, you'll see the entire list of maps that we have from property tax collected statewide. And that's about how much out of the property tax collected statewide counties receive. Because this is a myth going around that somehow counties collect property taxes, so they must keep all those property taxes. When we all know that the bulk of property taxes go to school board, absolutely. But when people come and complain about their property assessment raise or so on, they're going to come to you. They're not going to go to the school board. So you'll see all this map that goes through the state property tax limitations, limitation on the rate, on the assessment, on the levy, county sales tax authority, which states allow counties to raise sales taxes with or without voter approval, and some of the other items. But if you are not interested in that, you can click on More, and it's going to give you the entire spectrum of all the information that we have from county administration and structure to roads and bridges. And for example, if you click on transportation, it's going to give you the entire series of information that we have on transportation, including off-system bridges that we've been talking about. Or federal funding, and this is federal funding that goes to county governments, or it goes to any entity located within your county or your residents. Think about federal medical benefits like Medicare. Now, another beauty of it that here on county profiles, there are a set of one-page PDF profiles for each county in the country or each state on a specific issue. And we've been talking about, these profiles that we came, that we brought them printed on Secure Rural Schools and PILT. And if you want to print your own profile for your own county and not the state, you just can go in here and click on PILT. You'll see either PILT profiles or state PILT profiles. And you click on PILT profiles, if this computer is going to let me. And the map automatically is going to change and show you the PILT amount received by every county. Now, the maps are all color-coded the same way. The darker the color, the higher the value, or whatever you are looking at. So where the PILT dollars go? Western counties. You'll see there where is the dark blue and the second shade of blue, that's all PILT dollars. So if you want to get to your, to your profile, you can either click on your county, or if you are like me, I still don't know by heart the location of each and every of the 3,069 counties. Yes, I know, it sounds very unbelievable, but it's true. So you just type in the name of a county in the search box and press enter, and it's going to tell you how many counties with that name there are. By the way, which county name do you think is the most popular?
Jefferson.
You are close, ma'am. You are close.
Adams. Lincoln.
Earlier president. Yes, we have a winner here. Washington County is the most popular name.
I thought you were going to bring me a prize.
Yeah, we should have prizes, by the way. So if you want to look, for example, at El Paso County, Colorado profile, you just click on that, and it's going to give you this one-page PDF profile with the numbers specifically for that county. The beauty of it, that it's printable. You can actually print it, in color or white, black and white, depending what you have. And, it not only tells you specific numbers that would be useful if you want to tell the story of PILT in that county, which, by the way, is El Paso County, Colorado, got almost $200,000 in PILT in 2016, but also the story nationally and what the money goes for. And this, the PILT funding, what the money goes for nationally, that's a very important part of the discussion. Because we want to switch the discussion that not you, federal government, need to give us money because we cannot tax your land, towards you need to give us money because we provide services on this federal land. So as I mentioned, you can click on any of your counties and print your specific profile. Now, if at any point you get, you kept clicking and you're like, I don't know what I'm looking at, here at the bottom of the map, you'll always see the legend, and it's going to tell you what the map shows. And in this case, it's the PILT. Where the numbers come from, what numbers are we analyzing, and in this case, it's Department of Interior. And what do they mean, all the things that, we put on the map? Now, as I mentioned to you, you can look from county economy. So for example, in terms of economy, we have from local government pay. How many of you are familiar with the overtime rule? Overtime rule. If you are not familiar, definitely get familiar with that because it's coming. So you'll see a lot of the information here that you can look specifically at your county. You can look at the neighboring counties. Yes, I know you all want to see how your neighbors are doing. Absolutely. And you can definitely see that. And you can look for any county around the country. Keep in mind that this is a tool that you can use for benchmarking. You can use for communication. It has social media tools embedded in it, and you can use for your discussion with other stakeholders. And you just need, our members in Montana told me, this is a do-it-yourself tool. It's 24/7. You don't need to call anyone. As long as you have a computer or a tablet, you can go and find the information on your own. And, we've been talking about state mandates and state limits and the impact of the federal government and the fact that we have a new administration. And I want to end with this. In that survey, the county priority survey that I mentioned to you, we asked county leaders, how many of them are going to be involved with the National Association in educating new policymakers, and especially federal policymakers. And I can tell you that almost more than 70% told us they're going to do so. We hope that as many of you are going to be part of that discussion, because it's very important to be part in that education process with new policymakers, both at the state and federal level. I look forward to see as many of you either in February at our legislative conference in Washington, D.C., but if you don't have time for that, come to Columbus, Ohio. It's closer. That's what is going to be our annual conference in July. It's going to be a great leadership development and training opportunity. Thank you again for giving NACO a possibility to talk with you about the tools and the latest across counties. Thank you.